a central mitzvah in the Torah is Torah study. Yeah.
If that's the central mitzvah, why aren't women obligated in it?
Is a central mitzvah for men. By the way, women are obligated, but not in the same thing. I will be explaining that. A woman is required to study, but it's a whole different methodology, and we'll be talking about the difference. Now we understand the importance of knowing what to do, but it seems like Torah study has taken on a life of its own. Like even studying parts of Torah that are not so practical today, the parts of Torah that are less relevant than other things that I guess you would want to know about much more quickly. Torah study has some kind of value on its own. What is that? Now, we define the purpose of life on this planet. The goal is the ultimate pleasure of closeness to the Creator, both in this world as well as in the eternity, in the world to come. There's actually no greater way to connect with the Creator than by way of studying Torah. Now, why? How does that work? So I would like to go and describe the way I would to an outsider what ideally Torah study is supposed to look like. What goes on in the base medrash here? And places that are even far more intense. So, of course, for those that are not yet familiar with the language, the Hebrew and this Jewish jargon of Aramaic that the Gemara was written in. So, of course, the very first hurdle to overcome is language, learning the structure of the Gemara, and becoming familiar with the rules, just what works, what doesn't work. But ultimately, that's not the goal. Those are basic skills that have to be attained in order to be able to make something of the Gemara. The goal is really to find the underlying principle being conveyed in the particular discussion of the Gemara, and asking yourself, does this make sense? Both in terms of just common sense, as well as the internal consistency. In other words, do we find that internally that there's a lack of consistency, it may be self-contradictory? In fact, when one studies Gemara, at a certain point, it's almost like you're looking for trouble. You're looking for what's wrong. Either what doesn't make sense in the first place, or what really is a lack of consistency. ironing out those issues. First, making things internally consistent. But second, and even more important, making sense of it is a process where you start changing your attitude about whatever the subject matter is. Where you study something and come on, that makes no sense. Let me understand why it does make sense. You start off with the attitude that this is wrong, and you work through why, A, this is right. In the process, you have changed the whole way you view that subject. Those changes of attitude are really aligning your brain with the wisdom of the divine. It doesn't make sense to the point of, wow, now it does make sense. Not because I read it wrong and now I'm reading it right. I mean, that's elementary. That comes along before that. But at first glance, I would have understood X and the Gemara told me Y, so it made no sense. Now that I've thought into it in a deep way, I come to the realization that it's really right. The Gemara saying is really right. That process is aligning your brain with the way God thinks. This is A, an amazing growth process, but B, this level of closeness with the Creator is not possible in any other form. It's that you're ingesting His wisdom and transforming your own mind, aligning every cell in your brain with His truth. That's what makes this the greatest mitzvah. But it's only when you're actually doing that. Yeah.
And that's only within the context of the Gemara?
The Gemara is the best place for doing that, but it's not the only one. You can do this with any part of Torah. Just the Gemara offers you so much potential for getting to appreciate a principle that's so different than the way you thought in the first place. So it's ingesting His wisdom and making it part of you to the point that it affects a whole internal change. My attitudes on life change. The idea of going to some great Torah scholar to discuss issues that have nothing to do with Torah. In the olden days, that's the way everyone did things. Businessmen, Jews were always in business. Businessmen would go to their local rabbi to talk over the different business options. What makes you think the rabbi is an expert in business?
Sure.
I mean, if he would, why ain't he rich? The answer is you want to run this by someone who knows how to think the way God thinks. It's not abracadabra. His mind is aligned with divine wisdom. He's got a straight head. You want his input. Yeah.
So it would be accurate to say that you get the most reward you get for a mitzvah would be learning Torah, because it's the most efficient way to align your thinking with God's.
Yes. Got it. if that's what you're doing. Remember when you're doing that process, you find you really see how your attitude changes. And your whole self changes. Now we go further. Ideally, your observance should be based on your Torah study. Meaning, if Torah study is to bring you to a point where you think like God, and you know this is wrong, then obviously you're not going to do what you know is wrong. I'm bringing this up because we understand that the punishments in Torah, although there's a death penalty, it is almost impossible to administer. And for most crimes within society, the punishment is rather feeble. Stole an object, return it. The idea of observance to the Jew really is supposed to be a reflection of what he knows. I do because I know it's right. I don't do because I know it's wrong. Not because I'm afraid of getting caught. Which means that really the process of studying Torah is integrating the wisdom that you are retaining in the Torah study. To feel that this is right. Why doesn't the Jew steal? Because he'll have to return it. Because it's wrong. Torah study is to develop that attitude. That goes for every one of the prohibitions. It's not because I'm afraid of getting caught. If the Jew doesn't steal because he's afraid of getting caught, he missed it. That's not what Torah is for. Torah is to make us into greater people. Greater people don't do this because they don't want to get caught. The idea is to buy into right and wrong. So the truth is that without Torah study, observance is lacking. If you just know, I can't do this, okay, I won't do this. But you haven't really studied, you haven't appreciated what it's all about. You just don't know, I guess you don't want to get caught, or you don't want to suffer for it in the world to come. That's not the essence. The essence is to learn, understand, and live accordingly. It's first to develop the attitude. Yeah.
Regarding the chokim, maybe kashrus or others, we're told we're not necessarily supposed to know exactly how these things would benefit.
At least get the details so you know them. At least, God has told us that this is right or this is wrong. I don't quite get why, but when it comes to all the things we call chukim, yeah, it's getting the clear definition of what's kosher and what isn't kosher.
But don't do it because we're afraid we're going to get punished. Do it because we're aligning ourselves, knowing that Hashem is giving us. Okay.
Yeah. So the goal in Torah study is really to get to the depths of what you're studying. So you appreciate where it's coming from, you change your attitude, you really feel that way.
How could you choose to change your attitude if you're studying something like kashrut and there's never a final reason?
Your attitude on the details. Like a particular case, yes, the general idea is a chok, it's a law, but understanding the whole process of how it remains non-kosher, how would it become kosher, things get mixed up, all of that. There's so much logic to that. It's developing appreciation for it.
And learning how to observe the laws, that helps you to develop an appreciation more than just following what someone tells you to do.
Yeah, but if you delve into them,
You have to take ownership of it.
yeah, it's a buy-in. So really, this is the goal in Torah study, is to get to the bottom line principle. What is the real meaning of what I'm studying? And getting yourself to appreciate that this is right versus wrong. With regard to Torah study, we find the concept of throwing yourself into it entirely, being immersed in Torah study day and night. That is supposed to be an expression of a desire to know every bit of divine wisdom. Again, the toil that is required in Torah. Again, it begins with getting the words right. Getting the words right, understanding the methodology. But really what it is breaking your head over what sense does this make, until you really begin thinking like God, until you really start thinking differently. And that is being engrossed with everything you've got. That's man's learning. Another minute. I guess tomorrow's class will be women's learning because it's different. Yeah, all right. Come back tomorrow.